Our song is going to be This Joy by Shirley Caesar, and this is a song about being centered and resilient and joyful no matter what challenging circumstances you find yourself in, no matter what's going on in the world. We're not going to do all these verses. We're going to do joy, strength, and then peace. So, this joy that I have, the world can give to me. This joy that I have, the world can give to me. This joy that I have, the world can give to me. The world can give it, the world can take it away. This strength that I have, the world can give to me. This strength that I have, the world can give to me. This strength that I have, the world can give to me. The world can give it, the world can take it away. Peace. This peace that I have, the world can give to me. This peace that I have, the world can give to me. This peace that I have, the world can give to me. The world can give it, the world can take it away. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Phil Naig. I'm not on the board. I'm a guest announcer. We acknowledge that our campus is located on traditional, unsurrendered, unceded, Algonquin and Chinabin territory, and the work of reconciliation is a responsibility of our congregation and of all Canadians and requires ongoing attention and effort. And as you look out on the water this morning and see the leaves reflected in the stillness, think about what this was like 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago. I have two announcements. We're very pleased that Mustafa Mia is continuing to serve tasty food during hospitality hour. He thanks you for your support, and we thank him for being here. His offerings are so popular that he can use some volunteers to help serve for 15 or 20 minutes right after the service. If you would be willing to help occasionally, please stand your name to the sign-up sheet at the table where you can buy the food. Thank you. Second announcement. Fall Fair is only 3 weeks away, November 16th. Please help to get the word out. In the back of Worship Hall, we have posters and flyers for you to post. Please let us know where you're planning to post on the list next to the posters. Also, now is the time to set aside items to donate to the fair, which you can bring in between November 11th and 15th. If you have any questions about what will be accepted, check the website or email ffdonations@firstunitarianottawa.ca. Now, the reason I'm up here is to talk about the pledge campaign, and I brought some friends. These are gnomes that live on the caring table. Their names are Sharon and Karen. And they remind us of how we care for each other here at FirstU. And I brought Jet Pig. Jet Pig is the mascot of the RE program. A reminder again of how we do to make this world a better place. Okay, the campaign. I have lots of good news. First, the campaign started 2 weeks later than last year. Despite this, we've almost caught up the number of pledges, and we are completely caught up in the amount pledged to date. Thank you. Second, we have 14 pledges from people who did not pledge last year. Some returning from an absence, but most from people who are quite new to the congregation. So thank you again. And most important, we are well more than halfway to our goal of $380,000. People are taking our request to increase their pledges by 10% very seriously. Overall, the total from those who pledged last year and this year is up by more than 13%. Not everyone was able to offer an increase, and this is understandable. We're grateful for all of your pledges. But everything is not rosy. We still need to hear from over 100 people, and we face a big obstacle. In other years, we've been able to follow an opening email request with a letter through Canada Post. But this year, there was no reminder through Canada Post. You are the reminder. We sent a second email, but if you've been noticing, the church email is not that reliable these days, and we hope to have it fixed next week. If you've not yet pledged, please check your email carefully, check your spam. I've checked the online pledging system though, and it works. And paper, Maureen, would you hold up the pledge forms? Paper still works. And please note why we're asking for an additional 10%, if at all possible. I learned last week about the large number of people who are watching Sunday service online, and I want to speak to them directly for a minute. Those of you who are in the hall are welcome to listen. Some of you I know are long-term members who find it more convenient to watch from home. But others are people who are just getting to know us. In both cases, now might be a good time to make your pledge to support FirstU. On the website, under annual giving, you will find some guidelines for giving based on your income and how important the congregation is to you. You'll also find the pledge form, just a click away. If you're watching live when the service is over, simply open a new tab and go to our website, FirstUnitarianOttawa.ca. If you are watching midweek, you can put the service on hold and do it immediately. You will feel better, guaranteed. We can get this done. I don't want to be up here at Christmas time telling corny jokes. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Phil, Sharon, Karen, and Jet Cake. Greetings, friends, and welcome to this hour of worship at First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa. My name is Lee, and I'm delighted to be your worship associate on this, the last Sunday of October. I am joined today by our music director, Jen Bernstein, director of religious exploration, Jody McIntosh, and the Reverend George Buchanan, who's for today's service. Reverend George Buchanan is a lifelong Unitarian Universalist. He is Canadian, born here in Ottawa, with childhood and teenage years growing up in the Montreal suburbs. George and his family were active in the Lakeshore congregation on Montreal Island in the 1950s and 60s. In 1978, George moved back to Ottawa with his family to pursue his high-tech career. George, his wife Carrie, and their two children were active participants in our congregation for several decades. After decades in high-tech work, George decided to become a Unitarian Universalist minister. I'm curious to learn more about that transition. In 2006, George finished his ministry training and was ordained in our ministry by this congregation. George moved to the U.S. for 16 years, where he served in several youth ministries in Ohio and Western New York. George and Carrie are retired now and live in Perth, about an hour west of here. They have 2 adult children and 3 grandchildren. Their children live in other cities, and so most of the time George and Carrie relax at home with their books and papers. They also serve on the staff of one completely spoiled cat. George's ministry interests include deep adaptation and the wisdom of the indigenous nations of North America. I'm delighted to be sharing Sunday service today with you, Reverend Buchanan. Thank you so much for being with us. And thanks again to everyone here with us as well. You, whether you are here in person or online, are making this space sacred by your presence. Here at FirstU, we are learning together how to create lasting change, to be more welcoming, to become radically inclusive. We are a community of diverse beliefs and shared values, people of action, courage, and generosity. Our congregation welcomes all ages, orientations, abilities, and identities. Whoever you are, whoever you love, whatever your burdens, your hopes, your your gifts, and your boons, you are welcome to bring your whole self here. A special welcome to those who are visiting with us for the first time, or the first time in a long time. We are delighted to have you with us. Please fill out a visitor card in the back of the pew and let us know how we can connect with you, and drop it in the offertory basket as it passes later in the service. Now let us join together in our voices in song. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing together Circle of Song with special guest Tony Turner. The lyrics will also be on the screen above.
We are
Newtonian fusion choir. Let us light our chalice this morning as we hold these words by Andrea Gibson, an American poet and activist who died this past July, a month short of their 50th birthday, in our hearts. I know this world is far from perfect. I am not the type to mistake a street light for the moon. I know our wounds are deep as the Atlantic, but every ocean has a shoreline, and every shoreline has a tide that is constantly returning to wake the songbirds in our hands, to wake the music in our bones, to place one fearless kiss on the mouth of that newborn river that has to run through the center of our hearts to find its way home. Our chalice is lit, a symbol of our faith, the light of truth, and the warmth of love.
And they fly away on the wind for an adventure. Now this story is about a little spider named Stanley. Now Stanley, just like all of his brothers and sisters, flew off and went on an adventure. And he searched for the perfect place to make his home. He flew on the wind and plop, he found his home. Now, just like all spiders, Stanley was very good at weaving. So he weaved, and he weaved, and he weaved, and he weaved, and he created a beautiful web. Now, Stanley wasn't just a good weaver. He was also a collector. And he liked to collect a lot of things. He collected seeds, and twigs, and plants. What else did he collect? Some more leaves, and flowers. You can stick it out. And some things he didn't even know what they were. Just random things that he found. He loved to collect. It made him very proud of his web with his beautiful collection in it. He would stare at his web all day and all night, thinking how beautiful it was. He couldn't imagine having a more beautiful home. But one day, a rain came along. And rain did what rain likes to do. It likes to wash things away. And Stanley lost his collection. Except for one leaf. He found one leaf. So he said, no problem, I can And he tried, but it was a very windy day, and the more he tried to weave, the more he struggled, and the leaf just blew away, and then he didn't have any collection at all. Now, how do you think Stanley may have felt? Sad, maybe a little defeated, maybe just feeling like he just couldn't go on. But guess what? He did go on. He weaved, and he weaved, and he weaved, and he weaved, and he weaved some more. And then in the morning, he looked up, and he admired the beautiful web that he had created, because he didn't let the rain defeat him. He then realized it's now time for a new adventure. So he climbed way up on a tree and he floated on the next wave of wind for his new adventure. Things change and we might lose something special, like Stanley did with his web and his treasures, but it's okay to feel sad. But just like Stanley, we can remember that we're strong and brave and full of wonder. Even when things fall apart, we can begin again if we don't let it crush our spirit. Thank you. So we will sing the children on our way, and just a reminder for parents, you will meet your children in Fellowship Hall after the service. Thank you.
Thanks for the wonderful story, Jody. When Reverend Laura and I were planning out what I was going to do today, we both very much wanted to recognize the United Nations. Friday was United Nations Day, the 24th, and so I thought about it and thought, okay, so I'm reading a selection from the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, and it very much fits with what we've spent so much time supporting and doing here. And this is just an extract. Welcoming the fact that Indigenous peoples are organizing themselves for political, economic, social, and cultural enhancement, and in order to bring to an end all forms of discrimination and oppression wherever they occur. Convinced that control by Indigenous peoples over developments affecting them and their lands, territories, and resources will enable them to maintain and strengthen their institutions, cultures, and traditions, and to promote their development in accordance with their aspirations and needs. And recognizing that respect for Indigenous knowledge, cultures, and traditional practices contributes to sustainable and equitable development and proper management of the environment. And I hope Mark Carney is listening. Each time we gather for worship, we take a moment to expand the caring ministry of this congregation. Together we recognize the cycle of life and death, the circle of love, compassion, and wellness that is the center of this in every sacred community. So let's prepare our hearts for this time of sharing with the ringing or the sounding of our bowl. as we drop stones into the water as symbols of the joys and sorrows that we carry, the ripples wind their way out to be held and carried by many hearts. And so in our community, we share both the burdens and the celebrations of our lives and of the larger world. We have 3 carried cards on the table at the back this morning. The first one is for David Hudson and Margaret Linton. We're thinking of you and wish you support and comfort as you navigate a period of change. There's a card for Reverend Francis Devereux, holding you close in our hearts and thoughts, friend, as you prepare to face your current health challenges, and wishing both you and Ron quietude and comfort. Reverend Fran was the minister in the East End Fellowship for at least a year, I believe, maybe 2, so some of you may remember her. And finally, we have a carry card for Maria Contreras, who is Carmen's daughter. We're thinking of you and wishing you a smooth recovery from your recent emergency surgery. We offer stones of joy for those who have come here today with a joyful heart. Those celebrating birthdays, anniversaries, or milestones of sobriety, we all celebrate with you. It's a truth of our human condition that on any given day there are those among us who are celebrating life's joys and promises, and those who are bearing burdens of sorrow. And sometimes we carry both simultaneously. Please come forward now to honor your joys and sorrows by placing stones in the water. And while we're doing that, could you drop a stone for me, please? I want to offer my deep gratitude to Rev George for allowing me to speak here today, and to her success as our minister and as my minister, as a member of this congregation. I just feel so blessed. I think Lee and I both put in last stones. But we know that these last stones, as always, they represent all that remain in the silent sanctuary of our hearts, because we know these are just as important as the ones that we were explicitly noted. So let us join in a moment of shared reflection or personal prayer to lift up all that has been shared.
Our anthem today will be Turn, Turn, Turn by Pete Seeger, sung by Future Choir. Unfortunately, I don't know, do we have words? I don't think we have words today. We do? Oh, look at that. That's such a delightful surprise. I've sent so many emails this week and I have no idea whether they were received, so there we go. Do have words. I was going to say not to worry because Fusion has excellent diction, but now you don't even, now you can just read them. So.
Season, turn, turn, turn.
Our congregation has a long history of care, vitality, and bringing people together to move the arc of justice forward. We are living into our hopes and dreams through the generosity of those within and beyond our community. I'm pleased to welcome Jessica Wood from SeedChange, the recipient organization of this month's Social Justice Sunday collection, to share a few brief words about the work of SeedChange. Welcome, Jessica.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First, to fusion. That's a hard act to follow. I just want to share this quick anecdote quickly because 18 years ago, I had the privilege of seeing Pete Seeger sing, and I was days away from giving birth to my daughter. And so that song in particular makes me feel a little bit emotional, but also quite welcomed here. SeedChange is celebrating its 80th year this year, and many of you may know us better by our former name, USC Canada, or the Unitarian Service Committee. So 80 years of partnership, 80 years of working in a spirit of human dignity, in a spirit of community. And nothing has reinforced that feeling than congregations like this, still coming together with that spirit and bringing that sense of unity forward. At SeedChange, we are evolving. We're always evolving, as any organization has existed for this many decades. It's important to continue to evolve and learn. But we've really put a lot of focus in recent years on recognizing the importance of seed. The importance of seed, not only as a means to food, but as a sense of how growth can occur in many spaces and in many times. So the planters of seeds, the growers of seed, the cultivators of seed are also the agents of change that we seek. And we see a large role in terms of social justice and environmental justice and economic justice as well, all being served by focusing in on seeds and upholding the rights of those who are stewarding those seeds. We have projects that take place in Mesoamerica, in Asia, and in East and West Africa. And more recently, we have projects that are taking place across Canada as well. And so that's the last message I'll leave you with, knowing that we've got lots to talk about today. But just that recognition that the work that happens abroad is also the work that happens in our own backyards. So all of our work is community-led. It's led by Indigenous knowledge, it's led by local knowledge, and it's infused with the adaptations that occur within the spaces that are close to home. So as much as the challenges we face are global, the solutions are often very local. And it's a recognition that when we work in community, we don't offer solutions to spaces, but we uphold those who have that knowledge that can transform communities and beyond. So there's lots more to share about the work SeedChange is continuing to engage in, and I look forward to visiting with folks in the social time after. But mostly I want to leave you with a thank you, a genuine thank you for those who supported this organization for decades. And beyond the support that you share financially, the support you share with your energy is what keeps us going. So thank you for that, and thank you for welcoming me here today.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Whether you're here in Worship Hall or anywhere else, we rely on one another to keep our congregation vital and resilient. If you have any questions about how you can give in support of the work of our community, please go to our website or contact our finance manager to find out how to make a donation or keep up with your annual pledge. If you have a smartphone handy, you can use the QR code on the screen or the back of the order of service to make an online donation. I can invite the ushers to come forward now. Thank you. As a reminder, all undesignated donations made through today's collection will be shared with our friends at SeedChange. We're grateful for your generosity. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for all that those who share their gifts, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may be held by the generosity of others.
This reading is from a poem called The Summer Day by Mary Oliver. Many of you may know it. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? The grasshopper, I mean. This one who has flung herself out of the grass. The one who was eating sugar out of my hand. Who was moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down. Who was gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she sits on her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down into the grass, how to be idle and blessed. How to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it that you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? I found a wonderful book by an Australian author. Her name is Sarah Wilson. Here it is. And it's called This One Wild and Precious Life, The Path Back to Connection in a Fractured World. And you can come and look at it afterwards if you like. And the title, I believe, is derived from the same question we heard at the end of the poem. And my sermon today is focused on that question. What is it we plan to do with our wild and precious lives? And rather than reading more passages from this book right here, I've put in a couple of short passages into the sermon as we need them. Indeed, what is it we plan to do with our wild and precious lives? First of all, let's agree as UUs and UU sympathizers that we agree on the precious part. Our first principle is that every one of us is deserving of worth and dignity. So we've got the precious part down. But wild, do we even want our lives to be wild? I mentioned my plan to one of the choir members before we started and got a look of, well, could I say chagrin perhaps, or some chagrin? I believe we do so wish, at least in the Spirit of Life sense. That's the wonderful hymn we'll sing at near the end of the service. And invites the Spirit of life to arise from compassion, emerging with our willingness to act for love and justice, to do the work of radical inclusion that we talked about. So I believe that at least in the spiritual or spirited sense, We want our lives to be wild. So roll with me on this one. This is not wild in the sense that we mean when we say having a wild party or going hog wild. I mean, that's insulting to the pigs themselves, which is but spirited lives, yes. And particularly in the face of life's great challenges, and don't we face some of these in these troubled times. So let's have spirited lives in this sense. So, how do we do this? In her book, Sarah Wilson offers several ideas on how to be spiritually wild, to have spirited lives. And as I said, in the face of these fundamental and sometimes existential challenges. For the next few minutes, I'll draw on some of her ideas and mix in some of my own too, on my own understanding. And I frame these as always as invitations. We don't believe in commandments here, we believe in invitations, sometimes strong invitations. These are invitations, again, to be spirited in the face of life's fundamental challenges. Here's the first invitation. Ms. Wilson invites us to be soul nerds. That's right, soul nerds. In this, she's inviting us to spend as much time as we need and want with poetry, with music, with spiritual readings, and other experiences that sustain our fundamental souls. Now, what's a nerd? We mean this in the sense that of someone who spends time learning about using computers, and therefore we would call them a computer nerd. Now, we don't need to be experts, though, in music and poetry to be soul nerds. We begin from what we know and where we are. And what's a soul? Yes, this term has too many connotations of traditional religions for us. We could say heart nerd instead. So soul nerd, heart nerd, it's all going to get us to the same place. We fulfill the invitation. And we have a wonderful community practice here, which we've already engaged in, of music and singing together. So we are already being soul nerds in this congregation, communally. And of course, we can always do more. That said, I'm deeply grateful for the work of Jen and for Tony Turner, our special guest today, wonderful, and for all the volunteers who are singing with us. Now, if we turn to our personal practice at home, perhaps we may not be doing all of those soul nerd things, so that's a place to think about that challenge. Can we be soul nerds at home? Can we turn to the song or to the recorded music or whatever at home? And I believe that the stronger the challenge, and Sarah Wilson also agrees, the more we need to rely on music and poetry. It sounds a little paradoxical, but in fact, if we want to be that inclusive community that Reverend Laura's been talking about, if we want to do the work of justice, we're probably going to need to be doing more of the soul nerd work. Here's the second invitation. Sarah Wilson invites us to seek out deep, meaningful connection with other people and with one another. And not just superficial likes in social media, but deep connections with others where we can be more mutually open. Often this means meeting in person. And we know from our pandemic experience, of course, that meaningful connection can also happen virtually through Zoom calls and social media. And we know that fulfilling this invitation to be more deeply connected can be risky and challenging. We're called to take risks here. Here's a third invitation. We are invited to hike and walk outdoors as much as possible. Ms. Wilson says, hike, just hike. Walking in nature reconnects us with ourselves and our true nature. I know this to be true from my own lifetime experience. I'm older now, 72, so my walks are much shorter and more careful than they would have been 30, 40 years ago. And I spoke with an even older friend recently, and they said their walks are that much shorter and less frequent. these days that sometimes all that is possible is to look out at the hills. And hasn't that been a wonderful thing in these last few weeks here in the land of the Algonquin Anishinaabe? Look at those trees. And now, ask me again in, say, January whether it's still there. You have to work harder to be appreciative of the wonderful outdoors here. Let me tell a quick story, and then because I don't short of time. This would have been at least 30 years ago. The parish minister then told this story on himself. He had very carefully planned a sabbatical, and he was going to get with an Algonquin Anishinaabe elder. And so he made the arrangements, and then when the first month of the sabbatical started, he called the elder, and the elder said, "You know what? I'm tired of you white people ripping off our spiritual practices. If you want to learn about Indigenous spirituality, go to the woods a lot." Which is the same thing I think that Sarah Wilson is telling us, and the same thing that perhaps Mary Oliver was telling us, although she was walking in the field, but you get the point. The more time you're outdoors, the more time you're doing what in Japan they call forest bathing. For me, that is sustaining of our spirits, and again allows us to have the strength to work on that radical inclusion and those movements for justice, for love and justice. So that's number 3. Get out of the woods, get out in the woods as much as you can. I've talked about some ideas for sustaining our spirits, and I know that perhaps there are some here today for whom this all sounds very hollow. You may be completely down, you may have be living with grief or very severe loss. We heard about Stanley the spider, and Stanley was able to get himself up and get going again, but there's times, and it's been true in my life, where there's no get up and go left. Right? And so, if you're facing something like that, when you're ready, there are 2 things here. One is, by yourself, you can do that soul nerd work. You can reach out and find the poetry and music which you believe will sustain you. And second, and both of these are only when you're ready, perhaps there will be someone here who can listen to you, and you can begin to tell them what's burdening your heart. And I know from my own experience that over the past 40 years that this is a place where that happens. So please, when you're ready, take advantage of that. Here's a summary of my message today. Number 1, be soul nerds. Number 2, seek out deep, meaningful connection with other folks and one another. And number 3, be in the woods as much as you can, even if that's walking through a field or just looking at the mountains across the river. Let me bring this to a close. Today, I'm inviting us to be wild in the spirited and spiritual sense. I hope this congregation will continue to be a place where we nurture one another's spirits as well as our own. May this continue to be a place where we build the love and justice that we derive from all that is good and wise. May it be so.
Our closing hymn today will be Voice Still and Small, number 391 in the gray hymnal. The words will be on the screen behind me here. We'll sing it through twice. Please rise and body your spirit.
warmth of community or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please rise and embody your spirit once more as we sing our closing hymn, Spirit of Life.
Please be seated, everyone. In the order of services, as benediction from me, we're going to let Tony's closing music be our benediction. If I could ask you kindly to stay and listen to what Tony has to offer. Can I offer my thanks to Lee Rose, our service leader today. Thank you, Lee. To Jen for the music. To Tony, of course. Thank you so much. And to Julia for doing our sound and slides and keeping us all in line there. Bless you all.
A song about a wild and changing river. Driving rain filled this valley, quenched the land of a mighty thirst, leaving trees in pools of teardrops, and the hillsides set to burst. Waters rise like the days of Noah, drown this lowland through and through, driving boulders, braving channels, shape this valley, make it new. Sky is frowning, current quickens, I can't tell what's round the bend. Waters rising, channels shifting, Pagwari River changed again. Pagwari River changed again. I am drifting down this valley, I trust, where it leads past virgin forests, tumbling side streams, caught between these mountain peaks, Rapids calling in a whisper that swells to a fearless roar. I paddle harder than my heart beats, bound for the peace of Dos Montañas gorge. Sky is frowning, curving quickens. I can't tell what's round the bend. Water's rising, channels shifting. Pequawet River changed again. Pequawet River changed again. Changed again.